Andrew, thanks again for spending some time with us to think through some questions from church planners. Now, in the recent debate about homosexual marriage, and in fact, I guess it's going to be ongoing for the rest of the year, the question comes down to the church planner. Is this something that's just happening to the left of them? They've got more important things to do, or is that sort of controversial question one that they should be thinking about?
Yeah, good. Good. I think it is one they should be thinking about. I think in our community at the moment it is very relevant, but it's got to be done within a broader context, and so it is probably worth thinking about some of the principles that bear on the whole issue. So uh, one of the things that I think is very important to get hold of as a planter, but as anyone in ministry, of course, is that our job is not to be friends with the world.
Hmm.
Our job is not to be liked. Our job is actually to be the person who is God's voice to a world that's lost, that's rebellious, that's bringing the message from God, God's gospel. That's our job. And so it means on occasions we ought to expect to be the stench of death.
Hmm.
And, you know, which I think is the best use of the faithful language. You know, be faithful to God,
Hmm.
and be faithful as a faithful witness to the truth of God's message to His world that He's calling back by the gospel, and be faithful to that message, whatever the world thinks it is. So, you know, it's every prophet throughout the Bible, isn't it? You know, it's Isaiah, it's Jeremiah, it's John the Baptist. I mean, Jesus wasn't killed because he just said love each other. He was killed because he brought a faithful message from God. Now that's hard. It's hard for a couple of reasons. For church planters particularly, I think. It's hard for a couple of reasons because, like all people, we like to be liked. Although there are a few people who get their identity from being the hated person. We screen them out through Geneva processes and so on. So most of us like to be liked, and that's normal and human. And that makes it hard to be someone who's bringing a message that means you're going to be the stench of death. It's not a very popular place to be. But the second reason I think that makes it particularly hard for church planters is that we want to see people won by the message, and we're in particularly vulnerable situations where we've got 20, 30, 40 people and we're trying to get viable and we're trying to build a ministry that's established and will be set up and so on. So we are particularly vulnerable to the issue of speaking messages, a word that is unpopular, that means we're hated, that people don't come, that we, I tell you, in the early months, years actually, every time you speak a message that causes someone offence or someone leaves over, it's not just sad for their lives, you kind of feel the whole weight of it.
Yeah. Everybody on a seat is something to do with the viability of the church sometimes too.
Yeah, as well as their eternal destiny. We all get that, but there is that added thing for planters that's and so both those things push church planters, particularly, I think, away from saying hard things. We want to be like just normal humans, and the whole viability, and also our evangelist hearts. I think church planters tend to be. We want them to be more evangelistically minded, passionate for winning people, and so now I think being aware of that's important. Being aware too that for some of us it'll be stronger. That both those concerns, will be stronger than others. There's a spectrum on this. Some people really, really like to be liked, and it makes them hard to say anything that might offend. All the way down to the person who's very happy to be the outrageous one. Tim Keller, in a moment of, I'm not a great expert on Tim Keller, but he, in a moment of honesty, was sharing the deep motives that compel him to sin, to lie. It's a very, very courageous thing. He talked about how he and his wife were different. They both, like all of us, lie, but the different impulse drives them differently. And he said the impulse that drives him to want to lie is the need to be liked.
Yeah.
Now, I thought that was telling and very insightful of Keller to see it, of course, in himself, quite wonderful. But when you identify that becomes a big shape of your preaching. Big shape of your preaching. And uh, if that's a powerful engine for you, you will tend to shy away from the hard things.
Hmm.
I think for church planters, for people in ministry, we've got to know ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me just pick up on that thought there. In terms of shying away from the hard things, you've actually given us a bad reason why we would shy away from hard things. Let me put it to you this way. Are there some issues that are so explosive that they're just going to detract from the very reason you're there? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I look at homosexual marriage at the moment and I wonder, is it does it have the potential to blow the whole gospel message out of the way? You just become known as that church that hates gays or something like that. You know, you earn a reputation. How would you respond to that sort of fear?
um, well, I guess what I'm trying to lay down is the the concern the concern that it's almost impossible to analyse that question properly if you're not aware of what you bring to the whole issue.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, there is. You know, if I planted a church in Las Vegas, and I mean, I'll give you I'll give you the real illustration for us here, but it's more simply, if I plant a church in Las Vegas, I need to speak against gambling at some point.
Hmm.
You know, um, because I love God and I love people. I love God because it dishonours Him, this behaviour, but I love people because it's destroying them. So I need to speak against it at some point if I'm to express love. Now, in Las Vegas, that's the raison d'etre. That's the reason people are in Las Vegas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Central Coast. The reason people live on the Central Coast is because of lifestyle. That's why they've come here. It's become the idol. The surfing culture is all about hedonism. There's just, that's it. And it is a religion, it's an idol. You watch some surfing movies, it's very clear, it's explicit. Now, if I love God, love people, I've got to speak into that to rescue people from that issue, because that's where sin really has gripped them. But do I want to become known as the anti-surfing church? The anti-gambling church in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, I do want to be known as the lifeboat church that's rescuing people from a life of destructive sin and dishonour to God, and build a community of safety from all of that. That's a new world. If I don't ever speak about the presenting idols of my community, I'll never be able to create that transformed culture which holds out genuine hope for a different life. So I don't think there are any issues. Oh, no, I'll come back a little bit from that. Sexuality, I don't think there is a danger. We can be perceived as the anti-gay, the gay bashing, and so I think there's wisdom then about how often you speak about it, and of course how you speak about it. But we must be known, I think, as the church that's offering an alternative. The wholesome, or that's such a dweeby word, isn't it? The sound,
Yeah.
the life.
Now, a lot of the church plants that the Geneva Push are supporting at this point in time are actually inner city plants. You've got many of them based in large cities around Australia, and so in that sort of concentration, homosexual marriage, whether it be just because of a lot of intellectual thought in those areas, or in fact because of active gay communities, is a big issue. Would you be encouraging people to engage at this point? Elsewhere, you've actually given us some great videos on what to talk about. But would you be saying now is the time?
In a church plant?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, if you're planting a church into a place in the inner city where it's a gay community, within months, the question will be asked about where you stand on that issue.
You won't even have to raise it.
In our current environment, you cannot avoid it. You're going to have to nail your colours to the mast. And in that environment, I tend to be now. This says something about me, so I need to be careful about who I am in this. But I tend to be the one who wants to proactively, if that's going to come at me, let me set the field for the battle. You know, I don't want to be the one waiting for the question to be asked and get caught on the doorstep. And so, one of the things we've not done everything right in our church, but one of the things I think we did helpfully early on was I identified the half a dozen hot topics in our community, and did a midweek night on each of those once a quarter. Now that was a pattern we adopted, and the reason why I did that was because I wanted to give sufficient time to deal with the issue with the nuances it deserved, and the environment for discussion and engagement together. So that we positioned our church as a place where we are genuinely seeking after the truth, and we're doing that not as personal authorities in this, but with the Bible as the authority. And so there's a number of things I wanted to position, and we'd be such a community that we would accept differences with each other and still love. So I tackled those topics in that context and environment to say, here's what I see the Bible saying, but let's hear our thoughts, let's wrestle with the issues, let's debate and discuss and struggle together under the Word. And that, I think that created an environment, people do report this, so it's, it created an environment where people felt a safety to differ.
So you took a potential attack and turned it into an opportunity to actually to better build the community. I can understand that.
Yeah, totally. Al Stewart was visiting one night. This is always, he reminds me of this. Al was visiting one night to speak at a men's. I can't remember why he was here, but he was here for some reason, and I was going out to do one of these nights, and he said, "What are you going out to put out fires, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm going to light some." And he keeps reminding me of that. It was because I wanted to light the fire so that the issue was out there, but it was out there in a way that we could contain.
It's a bit of a back-burning illustration. The fires you actually have to light. Yeah.
Nice. It's gone further now. But I think with the homosexual issue particularly. So we did a night on this, and I think it's on the Geneva website.
Well, we'll actually link to it as part of this. So yeah,
we did a night on it because, and the reason we did that was twofold. I'm very concerned, and many are, of course, about the move towards same-sex marriage because love of God, love of people, a homosexual lifestyle doesn't just damage homosexuals, which is, this isn't just my opinion, it's, it's all the evidence we're getting. Same-sex will damage other marriage, so I'm quite concerned about it. But we were coming up to Romans as well. And I didn't want to deal with Romans chapter 1 and the issue of same-sex relationships as a 5-minute spot.
Inside of a 30-minute sermon, series, yeah.
Because there would be no way I could deal with it with sufficient subtlety that people would appreciate why I'm taking the position and or be persuaded to change their view. Do you see? I'm trying to do two things. I'm trying to put the Christian message of the gospel into the environment we're working in such a way that it's got people can appreciate that we are compelled to hold that view, whether they agree or not. But I'm trying to do it also so that people will be persuaded to change their view. You can't do that in a 5-10 minutes. So I would counsel, if I'm planning a church in the inner city, that you don't just throw offhand comments about this stuff on the way through doing something else. It will never work. It'll be a dreadful process. Put aside good time, and once you've done it like that, you won't need to do it again. It's like the parent with the child. I need to keep telling my kids that going to church matters. They see me live it, they see me do it. I've told them a number of times. Every time I look at them, they get them. I don't need to say anything. And I think homosexuality is like that. Could I suggest some just quick snippets of advice?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I think as we do it, we need to. There's two extremes we need to avoid. It's one is the over-apologetic extreme. men in its strictest sense, where we over-apologise. We're so afraid of being seen as that 1950s church or that kind of weird group in America that have signs about God hates gays. Or this,
Yeah.
we look at that. So don't over-apologise. Yes, the Christian church hasn't been great, but we don't serve that greater purpose by trying to be friends and mates with everyone by saying we're not like them. I think that's a real danger. Don't be conned by the gay lobby in that the potential for them to set the agenda for us as we engage with this issue is very great. And then don't let the truth of what the Bible says be drowned in 1,000 qualifications.
Mm.
On the other side,
Now flip the coin.
I would have started here, I suspect, but on the other side, don't forget that there will be, a number of people within whatever community you address this issue who are personally struggling with same-sex attraction, and so don't speak as if the problem's out there. It's with all of us. As the statistics, it's only kind of 1.5% or so are same-sex orientation, but something like 7, 8, 9% are struggling with some kind of attraction, whether it's only a once-off or not. But and speakers are clearly aware that these are people for whom Christ has died, and the sin of homosexuality is, infidelity, lust, heterosexual. They're all sins.
Yeah.
And let's engage on that level together. Yeah.
Mate, that's been brilliant. Look, what we're going to do is we're going to link for everybody to the 2 talks you've done, one on homosexuality and one on homosexual marriage. In the meantime, I guess we'll just get back to you when the next question comes in. Thanks very much for your time.
Good on you, Mark. Okay, pleasure.